American Fascism did start with Donald Trump by Chris Menard from the anarchist American think tank Center for a State Society. Page 1 of American history book, Stained with Blood. The first line tells the story of genocide against continent's original people, a campaign of dispossession and dehumanization. Colonists didn't just steal land, they stole names, cultures, and future. This erasure sets tone for centuries to come. The brutality continued with chattel slavery, the first labor and subjugation that built the nation's wealth. Turn a few more pages, you will find Japanese American internment camps, the redlining of black communities, crushed labor movements, and the relentless expansion of arguably the most complex security state the world has ever seen. The story of the U.S. empire is not one of the nations suddenly threatened by authoritarianism. The American dream has always relied on violence, exclusion, and control. American fascism didn't descend and go the escalator, just crack open the history book, if you got the stomach for it. This nation is founded on blood, dispossession, and state-sanctioned terror. American exceptionalism was born on genocide, carried out by the so-called founding fathers and their successors in a wave after wave of deliberate extermination. The Mystic Massacre, the Sand Creek Massacre, and the Sullivan Expedition were isolated incidents. There were state policies. George Washington, lionized as a hero, ordered the destruction of the Iroquois villages, burning crops and homes and leaving entire communities to starve and freeze to death. The UN didn't just use bullets and bayonets. The state deployed every tool: forced removal, reservations as open-air prisons, weaponized disease and starvation, and the systematic destruction of cultures throughout the border schools and forced assimilation. The message was clear: conform or die. If that's not fascism, I don't know what it is. They say genocide was America's original sin, and chattel slavery was its business model. For centuries, American economy ran on the back of enslaved people, robbed, sold, and brutalized as property. These atrocities didn't happen in spite of the state; they were engineered by it. Laws define people as property, stripping them of humanity and unleashing a regime of terror to keep them alive. Every institution played a part. Congress wrote figured slave laws, turning white Americans into bounty hunters, slave patrols, the runners of modern policing, stalked the countryside, authorized to brutalize or kill. If enslaved people rebelled, they faced public execution and mass reprisal. The abolition of slavery didn't end the terror. Jim Crow laws, lynch mobs, and chain gangs ensured white supremacy remained the law of the land, north, south, east, and west. The state appetite for oppression didn't stop with indigenous people or African Americans. Everyone who threatened to stabilize order, radicals, immigrants, workers, became targets. The machinery of surveillance and suppression was running long before the NSA or Patriot Act. During the Red Scare, the state waged war on leftist labor organizers. Decades later, called Intel Pro, was initiated the FBI's secret war of black liberation, anti-war groups, and socialists. The message was always the same: stand up our line and the full weight of the security apparatus will crush you. None of this is ancient history. Legalized violence, mass incarceration, surveillance, and criminalized dissidents are the backbone of the American empire. The capacity for repression has only grown more sophisticated and totalizing. Enter Donald J. Trump. Liberals and the blue MAGA crowd claim Trump is rogue president who warped the system. In reality, Trump is the system's most authentic creation. Strip away the spray tan and gold-plated bravado, and you have a man wielding the same tool the state has always held: repression, scapegoating, the rapid pursuit of executive authority. Trump's authoritarian populism isn't a break from American tradition; it's an acceleration of it, following a playbook written long before he took office. From the moment Trump launched his campaign, he tapped into America's deep well of grievance, encouraging violence, demonizing immigrants, and promised to use state power against the enemy, real or imagined. His first 100 days were a masterclass in cruelty and chaos: mass deportation, family separation, crackdowns on protests, and ultimate contempt for the rule of law. But these tools, forged by decades of bipartisan support, the imperial precedent, militarized borders, the surveillance state, normalized executive overreach. Trump simply dropped the polite pretense. If you listen to the resistance, you think America is locked in an epic battle for its soul. But look past the talk show monologues, hashtags, and strongly worded letters, and you find a liberal establishment that is less of a bullhawk against fascism and more of a tool for normalizing it. The DNC and its media alliance had mastered symbolic outrage, pink hats, soundbites, fundraising email promises to fight back. For decades, the opposition had perfected the politics of the lesser evil, asking voters to choose between open cruelty and a more polished and brand polite violence. With every election, the overtone wither is drifted further to the right. The acceptable political spectrum narrows until the radical left is little more than a myth. Healthcare for all, a living wage, police abolition, ideas that once animated campaigns are now dismissed as utopian fantasies, or worse, Russian plots. The liberal idea resisted is a return to normalcy, which for millions means the same old misery wrapped in a blue ribbon. Meanwhile, the far right grows bolder, and the left grows emptier, and the state capacity for unchecked brutality remains unrivaled. The liberal establishment, Gray's trick, is convinced the public that the voting for the lesser evil is the height of engagement, but the empire rolls on, unmoved by the hashtags or hopes. If we learn anything from the past decade, it's that the real resistance doesn't come from voting blue no matter who. The idea that the state will reform itself out of existence is pure fantasy. The system can be fixed from within. It's made by the rules. If you think a counter gender ruling class is interested in reversing centuries of oppression, it's time to wake up. Anarchists has always known the problem isn't who holds the office, but the office exists at all, and the sprawling apparatus of dominating that surrounds it. Real resistance means rejecting the state and rigid rules it imposed while ignoring the results. It's mutual aid networks, feeding and sheltering those abandoned by all parties. It's direct action disrupting pipelines, evicting ICE, and blocking deportations. Most of all, it means refusing to narrow limits of lesser evil choices. The system will not save us from itself. Only we can do this. Next time you see a blue MAGA agent warning the Trump restored America into Nazi Germany, remember, America was perfecting ethnic cleansing long before the Nazis. Before removing Trump will fix the problem. The state remains. We must abolish hierarchy, the state, and all forms of centralized authority. That is the only way to achieve true liberation.